It's Sunday, it's 10 p.m., and it's time to bring you my top 10 most anticipated comics of the week. Hey comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to bring you Mike Spider Slayer's top 10 most anticipated comics of the week, and this is for 12/5/18. And if you guys are not familiar with this video series, this is the series where I give you my top 10 most anticipated comics. Pretty self-explanatory, right? And if you want to tune in for the premiere of this video with other viewers, it goes Sundays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's when the video actually premieres and you can chat with amongst the comic community. Alright, so without further ado, guys, let's get started, shall we? Now, before we actually get into the official top 10, I want to talk about my book that's on the fence. This is the book that I thinking about dropping, or it's very close to being dropped, but I might give it another chance. And this book goes to Green Lantern issue 2. Now, after I read Green Lantern issue 1, I had a lot of people say, I agree with you, Mike. I disagree with you, Mike. Why don't you give it a chance? You know, the cardinal rule about comics is at least give it a story arc. And you know what? When I read that particular comment, they are 100% right. And I say that myself when I review a lot of comic books. Give the first 2 to 3 issues a try to get a real feel and to give the writer a chance of, you know, getting his point across in the story. Then after the first story arc, maybe then you can drop it, right? Or if it's just a story you don't care for. So this is why it's on the fence, because I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe I should drop it, but I might actually pick it up and see where it's actually going to go. You know, we'll see. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I wasn't a fan of the whole writing. The artwork was really cool. But again, I was just, it's just completely different from what I used to, and it might take me some time to get used to this style of writing by Grant Morrison. So, I don't know. We'll see. But that is my On the Fence book. Alright, so now kicking it off, going on to the official number 10 this week. And number 10's book goes to Batman issue 60. This book is a $3.99 price point. This continues the whole storyline with Bane and the Penguin. And it looks like Penguin is kind of verging on the good side and working with Batman, which I thought is kind of interesting here. Really nice looking covers in general. The variant cover is actually really nice by Mantina if you guys collect those variants covers. But yeah, it's basically Bane kind of, or Penguin just kind of ratting out Bane and whatnot, and the villains don't know what to think of it and whatnot. So, quite interesting story. I'm not a huge Penguin fan. That's why I'm not, like, overly excited about it. But I feel that Tom King's Batman has been pretty solid. So, that's why it hit number 10 this week. Alright, so let's move on to number 9. And number 9 goes to The Walking Dead. This is issue 186. This book also comes in at the $3.99 price point. And I like what's going on with The Walking Dead currently. We have this situation about this place called the Commonwealth. Rick and his whole crew found this place, and it's a huge community. I mean, it makes anything that they ever found before look like a little hole in the wall. This place is so big that they restarted basically civilization here. They have football stadiums in this place. I mean, it is absolutely insane. But things have been starting to go wrong, which is anticipated here. And, you know, how is Rick, you know, going to take this situation? Because everything that they've ever done, they've always tried to take over. And then it always goes bad, right? Or, you know, it's just the same old song and dance when it comes to The Walking Dead. In the most recent issue, we get to see that Rick actually doesn't want to betray the group. He wants to work with them and grow the community. He doesn't want any more fighting. He doesn't want any more conflict. He wants peace amongst everybody, okay? So it's making for an interesting story. It's developing some characters. It's a little bit better than when it has, but it hasn't been mind-blowing like it was when the series first came out. So that's why it's number 9 this week. Alright, so coming in at number 8, I have Red Hood in the Outlaw. This is issue 29. This one has dropped a little bit for me based off of the last issue. In the last issue, we get to see Red Hood, who, you know, he went into this crazy town and they were interrogating him or they were spying on him. But I felt like they didn't do enough of that. It was kind of like Red Hood was in this town for 2 pages and the next thing you know, everyone is attacking him. And then he winds up getting captured, and we wind up seeing that there's these Solomon Grundy-like creatures going after him. We don't know how they're created. We don't know what this town is about. And the next thing, randomly, Batwoman shows up, and she's like, I'm going to kick your ass. And he's like, no, come on. No, let's go. And then they wind up teaming up, and they escape, and that's kind of how the issue ends. And I was kind of like, okay, where are we going with the whole Batwoman and Red Hood situation? It made for an interesting cliffhanger, but I'm not sure about this whole story now with these weird Solomon Grundy creatures and things like that. I would have loved to see more, you know, Jason Todd settling in this town and then being betrayed by this town and things like that, but they just kind of bypassed that whole thing. So, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Overall, though, I've enjoyed Jason Todd and him being on his own. Alright, so let's move on. We're going to go on to my number 7 book this week, and that is going to West Coast Avengers. This is issue number 5 for this particular book, and this actually starts a new story arc. So if you have not read West Coast Avengers, or you started the first story arc and you're like, I don't know if I can get on board, maybe I'll wait for the next one, this will be your perfect jumping on point. The West Coast Avengers dealt with their whole situation with MODOK and 50-foot monsters and whatnot. We have the team, they're assembled, we know who they are, they're established. And now we have Madame Mask, who's going to be in this story going forward. So even though these characters are very silly at times and their interactions are a little goofy, we might get a little bit more of a serious tone going forward when it comes to the West Coast Avengers. And I love Kelly Thompson on this. I think she hits all the characters' voices, and I think it makes for an entertaining series. Not something so serious all the time. It has a good balance in it, and the artwork is really good as well. And if you want Quentin Quire together with Gwenpool, hey, if you like that kind of romance, you might be interested in that. Alright, so that came in at number 7. So let's go on to number 6. My number 6 most anticipated book is X-Men Exterminated, issue 1. This comes in after the extermination event. It's not like some kind of bug guy or something. And this book is at a $4.99 price point. It is 40 pages, however. And obviously there was a death in the family, and the team gets to mourn that death, which is actually Cable. And this had happened already issues ago in this event. And the person that's obviously taking it the hardest is going to be Hope Summers. And so how does she deal with the loss of her father? And I think that's going to be a quite interesting story. And I think this is a character that we haven't seen so much of, and that is Hope. She's been really missing from the Marvel Universe. She's only been in a handful of issues within most recent years, and if you're a fan of her, it's good to see her back, even though she's going through some tough times. Alright, so let's go on. We're moving into the top 5, and my most anticipated number 5 comic goes to Immortal Hulk. This is issue 10. if you guys are reading Immortal Hulk, I think there's a specific audience for this, but I feel like this is a very underrated series. It's quite interesting. And in a couple issues ago, you had the Hulk, he was chopped up in containers, right? And he doesn't die. And it's quite interesting how he pulled himself together. In the last issue, he fights Absorbing Man. And Absorbing Man had the powers of the Red Hulk, and he tried absorbing the gamma powers of of Green Hulk, obviously. And what happened to him? He wound up melting and he died. I was like, oh my God, that's totally insane. How does the Absorbing Man die? I mean, at least that's what you think. And it's a very dark series. It's very interesting. And so now in this particular issue, I guess we're going to get a continuation upon that. I'm not sure, but it left you with this crazy cliffhanger. This story, guys, is very dark. This is not your traditional Hulk smash. I'm going to fight some off-the-wall creatures. This is a Banner that obviously is doing battle. He's been battling against himself, which was seeing images of his father, but he's also trying to stay in hiding and all kinds of other things like that. And he's very dangerous, and people obviously want him captured, and they want to do experiments on him and all these other different things. A really interesting series. Give it a try, guys. I think it is definitely worth it, and that's why it got number 5 this week. All right, so moving on to number 4. My number 4 most anticipated book this week goes to Marvel Knights Issue 3. This book is $3.99 as well. This time around, I think we're going to be going after... who is it? I forgot. Maybe Black Panther in the next issue? Not even sure. But this story is still high up there. It dropped a little bit because the last issue we had Frank Castle trying to get Elektra on their side, okay? And it took a very long time to get her to do that. And so I felt like that issue could have been maybe like 15 pages. And there was just this overdrawn fight with them too. But this is a very interesting series where the world has forgotten our heroes. And the heroes don't even remember who they are or what they've done. They remember glimpses of their past life, which is quite interesting. And Frank Castle, Bruce Banner are the ones trying to reawaken these heroes to get back to some kind of normalcy. Donny Cates is the writer of this story, or one of them. I think he's doing a great job overall this year. I've said it many times. And I think this is definitely a series you should check out if you can find the first 2 issues. Really great stuff. It's a rotating writers and artists on this book. All right, so coming in on my top 3. And my number 3 book is Venom. This is issue 9. This book comes in at $3.99, and the only description that's in this book is the smash hit of the summer continues, and this is Venom No More. Nuff said. And if you read the last issue of Venom, this was a story that had to deal with the whole Web of Venom series, where it reintroduced Carnage, and where Carnage has been, and how he's been reborn, and what his mission is going to be. And that's how the last issue, it kind of introduced that whole situation of what's going on with Carnage. Venom, we're going to get a new story arc after Knoll is not awake anymore. And I just don't know where this series is going to go. But the first story arc, the first 8 issues, was absolutely amazing. And I love this series, and I love the artwork by Ryan Stegman. I'm not sure if he's going to be continuing to do the artwork on this book or not, but overall, it's been a solid read, and it's just a little bit of a different take on Venom, and adds more depth to the character. Even though he does have a lot of depth already, it just adds even more. All right, so moving on to my number 2 most anticipated comic of the week, and this one, it goes to Die issue 1. This is Image Comics. This is a 40-page book. It's $3.99 for 40 pages, okay? This is a quite interesting, you know, pitch when I read this, all right? So this is about, this took place in 1991. 16 teenagers were playing a role-playing game, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, okay? With no explanation whatsoever. And so what happened is a few years later that they are found, and they can't describe where they went, okay? They just say they cannot say. That is the whole thing there. And so fast forward to 2018, and now no one can escape. That's your description of this book. And I'm like, man, this looks quite interesting. Kieran Gillen is the writer of this book, so we have a solid writer here, and I'm very interested to see. This just has me really intrigued on what this story is going to be about, and see what happened all these years through these kids' childhood, okay? So really interesting concept. If you guys didn't hear about it, at least you heard it right here on Top 10 Most Anticipated Comics. All right, so here we go. Number 1. Most anticipated comics of the week goes to, don't forget, you gotta like and subscribe this video. All right, no more. Goes to Shazam issue 1. Book is $4.99 for 40 pages. Jeff Johns is the writer of this book. So, I'm a fan of Jeff Johns. I love all the stuff that he writes, especially Green Lantern. I voiced my opinion about that before. And, you know, this is just in time for the movie to get people excited about Billy Batson and the crazy adventures that he's going to go in. The artwork looks phenomenal. Cover art looks phenomenal about this book, with this book. And it's great to see, I guess, the Shazam book back for people that have been missing the actual character. And let's hope that this series stays around for a long time. And if people are fans of this movie, this gives people, or if they're interested in this movie, maybe people will go to the comic book store and actually pick this book up and learn about the character a little bit. How he's going to be in the comic compared to the movie, I'm not sure. But it will be quite interesting to see what Jeff Johns does with the character going forward. So I'm really anticipating Shazam issue 1. So there you guys have it. There are my top 10 most anticipated comics of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Now it's your turn in those comments below. Put where your most anticipated comics of the week. Top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever you want. And guys, as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification button so you don't miss a single video from me. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Take care, guys. I'll see you real soon. Bye.